Hello everybody and welcome back to the TripleJump podcast. It's a video game podcast. My name is Ben.
And my name is Peter.
Good morning, Peter. How are you today?
It is a good morning, Ben. It's lovely outside. That's normally my answer when you ask me how I am. I actually tell you how the weather is instead.
Deflect.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about my emotions. No, I'm well, thank you. I hope you are too, and I hope it's sunny where you are across the river.
It is. It's beautiful. I think we were, or maybe not us, but I was certainly lamenting recently that this time last year it was beautiful, especially still working from home, which is unpleasant on the one hand because your room gets all warm and you've got no air conditioning because we're not in the office.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's really nice. And then, it's been rainy and horrible, and now here we are. We're recording early. It's the 19th of May. It's Wednesday, and it's bloody beautiful.
It is. It is. No need to swear about it, but it's beautiful.
Flippin' beautiful.
Yeah. Well, this is our weather podcast.
I was just going to let that silence just hang.
Oh, well, I didn't want to. I wanted to tell everyone it's our weather podcast.
That's fine.
Sorry about that.
Just stay quiet. That's okay.
Okay. What kind of podcast is this, Ben?
Did I not say?
I don't think you may have done.
Okay. It's a video game podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just so you know. Anyway, we are sponsored. Did you know that?
Bet
you flipping didn't, did you?
I don't know. I don't know if I did or didn't. I've no idea.
What's the point? Hey, should we just start again? Hello, everybody, and welcome. No, okay, we are sponsored each and every week by a brand new sponsor. They're real. They help us do this show. They help us talk about the weather and do big pauses, making everybody at home very uncomfortable. This week, I have the ad read right here. We are sponsored by New Pokemon Flap.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
So it says here, everyone's got a Pokemon Flap. You've got one. I've got one. And now...
Are we allowed to talk about this pre-watershed? Is that...
Yeah. No,
okay.
This is fine. It says here, no, this is fine.
Okay, right.
So now, there's a new Pokemon Flap. You can replace your old Pokemon Flap. It's probably getting tired, bit dusty.
Yeah.
And now, new Pokemon Flap. Doesn't say what the flap does, but why would it? We've all got a Pokemon Flap already.
It's like a cat flap. It's to let the Pokemon in through the door.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I've been using it wrong.
Oh, well.
Anyway, there's a new one. And if you could just, I think it's Phillips head screws. You just undo it.
Right.
Attach the new Pokemon Flap. And you're ready to go and do whatever it is that the Pokemon Flap allows you to do.
Fantastic.
That's it.
I really liked
simple as that.
My original Pokemon Flap back in the 90s. I've had it that long.
Oh, wow.
So I could do with a new one, to be honest. Well, what was it, early noughties, late 90s? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
think
remember.
I think it was late 90s.
Late 90s, yeah.
Has it got like sort of faded, sun-bleached stickers on it and stuff?
Yeah, I have to blow in it if I want it to work properly.
Do
sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
They say that you're not supposed to.
I don't know how hygienic it is, to blow in your flap.
Well, I'm not yeah, they've always said that, like, don't do that, it's not good for the flap, but then everyone who's ever done it knows that it works, so it's weird, really. Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with the guidance there. But either way, replace that stinky old Pokemon Flap with a new Pokemon Flap coming... Well, it's now. It's available now from Nintendo. Yeah, right now. Or it would if there were any truth to that whatsoever, because that's a load of ball hips.
Oh.
Sorry. You're just going to have to stick with your existing Pokemon Flap, I'm afraid. Rubbish, right? No, we are sponsored by our patrons over at patreon.com/Team TripleJump, where for as little as $1 per month, you can support this podcast. You can support TripleJump at large, and you can submit questions for this show. That's right. We only take questions from Patreon. So do consider going over to patreon.com/Team TripleJump.
There's a man in his boxer shorts hanging up the washing in the garden opposite my house. Yeah.
Do you want to invite him in?
I don't know if I do. I'm not sure about that.
Maybe he could show you his Pokemon flap.
Maybe he's all the clothes that he's hanging up. He's washed all of his clothes, so only all he's got is pants to go and hang them up. Maybe.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
Incredible. Peter, where are we walking today?
Across a washing line, and let's not think about who put us there and what he was wearing. Nice
and simple. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
First question.
It's from Samuel Benson, your child.
Son.
Hello, lads. Right now, I'm in a bit of a gaming rut. I just can't get myself to stay with any game, or none that I have seem to interest me. What is your go-to game when, or if, you're in a gaming rut? Thank you, Samuel, for your question.
Thank you.
I mean, my first response to that would actually be, if I'm in a gaming rut, I try not to really force it. If I'm just not really feeling it, I don't worry too much about it, apart from the fact that, we have a weekly segment where we do what we're playing. But normally I manage to play something in a week. I mean, there was a time where sometimes I would just talk about what I'd streamed. I don't tend to do that anymore. But if I'm in a gaming rut, I don't feel the need to necessarily kind of force anything into being enjoyable. But maybe you want to play something and you're just not sure what to do. So in answer to your actual question, what are our go-to games? I always find Minecraft is quite a good one because it's you know that you're not committing to anything. There's not a narrative that you have to kind of see through / drop out of if you suddenly feel like you don't want to play it anymore. You can play it in many different ways, either creatively or survival with or without monsters. You can play peaceful but without creative mode turned on, so that's all good. Lots of different ways to play it. It's a very zen game. You can play with friends, you can play alone, do whatever you like, listen to a podcast at the same time or something like that. But if not Minecraft, which I do think ticks a lot of boxes, probably just go back to an old favourite, I mean, they always come up from Ben and I in these podcasts, the likes of Final Fantasy VII and Spyro the Dragon, but things like that, if you're really stuck in a rut, perhaps go back to something that you will definitely enjoy. You always enjoy it every time you play it. We've probably all got a couple of games like that are absolute surefire ways to kill a few hours playing games and actually have fun. So, yeah, either Minecraft or something like Spyro, probably.
Nice.
What about you, Ben?
Well, I've been there numerous times over the past year, and it's usually between big new releases. And sometimes I've settled in and played through a game I played before, like that I've been meaning to go back to, like the BioShock collection, Return to Rapture collection, or whatever it was, and more recently Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. But my usual salve to the situation, similar to you, is that I won't force it. Sometimes I'll just watch some TV, and I'll just spend an evening not playing games and just watch some YouTube and chill out and not worry about forcing myself to play something when I'm not feeling it. However, particularly with Returnal recently and in the past as well, when I wanted to take a break from a game or wasn't sure what to play, I was fortunate in that I've always got a group of friends who are up for playing Warzone, or similar. And although that's not a game that I want to necessarily sit down and spend a whole day playing, it can serve as a really good distraction, and you can chat to your friends while you're doing it and, just have a nice time. And that extends to Minecraft as well, as you said, because while I didn't play that alone, and I probably wouldn't play it alone, playing it with friends did serve as a nice thing to do in an evening. If I've got nothing else pressing that I want to play, or I'm not really inspired to play anything, just message the group chat and hop onto a multiplayer game for a couple of hours, and then return to a single player game when you're feeling the inclination. That's what has worked for me. But I don't really have a game downloaded that when I don't know what to play, I will play that. Doesn't really work for me, because if I'm not feeling anything, I'm not really feeling anything. And more so than playing Call of Duty Warzone, it's talking to friends that is the attraction to playing a multiplayer game instead of cracking on with a single player game.
Yeah.
So don't know how many friends Samuel's got. I'm assuming Loads.
Loads.
Because he's rad. But,
he's got Ben in his name.
Exactly, that's true. And he's a son, which not many of us are,
No.
We were just spewed forth by the ether. So I'm assuming Samuel Benson is very popular and has loads of friends. So
yeah,
maybe try that if you're in a position to do so.
Yeah, that's always a good move. Play with friends.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you can play with friends or you can play alone. But in any case, when you've been doing that and you work here at TripleJump, then what you got to do within the next 7-day period at some point is come on a podcast and talk about what you're playing.
Oh, there it is. It's What We Playin' time with your host, Peter Austin.
Hello, I'm your host, Peter Austin. I have been playing the same games this week as I played last week, and I've thoroughly enjoyed them. I did a tiny bit of Minecraft on the weekend, which I think that it might be over now, but that's fine. It's not sad. We had a great time, and now, we're moving on to bigger and better things. But it served a purpose. Like I say, in answer to the previous question, it was a nice, just little thing to do without worrying too much about keeping up with the story or playing something that's hard or whatever.
Yeah.
And again, chatting with friends and so on. But step aside, MC, because I am really enjoying Resident Evil Village.
Oh.
Thoroughly enjoying that game. I don't really know how far through I am. It's quite hard to tell with that game. I think maybe 2/3, something like that. Philip will know. He messaged me the other day and said he'd just finished it. And
yes, he did the same for me. I was just about to mention that.
He said he really
big Resi fan, and he liked it a lot, didn't he?
He did, yeah. And I replied to. I didn't get a notification of a reply from him. Let me just check and see if he told me how far I am. No, he didn't. He just reacted to it on Slack with a zombie.
Good. He doesn't want to spoil it.
No, he doesn't.
Want to spoil it.
So I said to him, I don't know how far through I am, but I am up to this point, and so I'll have to see how many hours I've got left in it. But I'm already, I think, planning on doing a New Game Plus, which is exciting. I've not done that in a game for a long time, really. So that says it all, probably. I've found it so pleasurable, despite the harrowing setting, to go through that game and just clear out every building and having it marked as blue on my map. Like, I'd wax lyrical about the Resident Evil engine and the UI in general of that game and the HUD, but I really like it. It's so clean and satisfying and tidy, and even looting rooms, it won't show you exactly where all the items are when you walk into a room, but when you're sort of close enough, you'll get, a little prompt. So that's nice. It's not an absolute chore to find stuff. And again, as I say, having that map just get ticked off and cleared out. And there's all kinds of extra collectibles that, as you go through the game, start to be added to that map. So this is completely spoiler free. I don't want anyone to worry that I'm going to spoil anything for you. But, treasures will be marked on there. There will be, let's say, areas that might be of interest to the merchant, but not treasures. As I said, I don't want to be too spoilery. But so, there's almost kind of side quests and little mini kind of objectives to go and do at your leisure. Because the game is relatively open at certain points, so it will be no surprise to anyone that you, of course, spend some time in the castle that we've seen in the promotional material. When you're in there, that's a bit more kind of enclosed and you're just in that building. But once you leave that castle, you can go back into... I think you can go back into the castle, actually. I've not tried, but I think you can go back in if you wish. Or, you can explore pretty much the whole village and outlying areas. There's all kinds of little offshoots and branching paths and extra things you can go and do if you want to, and you don't have to if you don't want to. I think there's certain mini bosses that you don't have to fight if you don't have the inclination. So it's got a lot for everyone, I think. If you really just want to power through, play the game, find out what's happened to Ethan, then of course you can do that. But for those who are completionists and get a lot of satisfaction out of completing games and finding little treasures and secrets and things like that, there's so much of that in that game, and it's presented in such a satisfying way. So I've really enjoyed that. Story-wise, it's really got me hooked, and I can't wait to find out what happens next, but I won't talk too much about that. And of course, you can watch Ben and I playing through Resident Evil Village on our joint Blaze It live streams, when we are indeed doing joint Blaze It live streams together, because over the next couple of weeks, this week actually, by the time this podcast goes out, I'll have done one with James, where Ben was not present, Resident Evil was not played, and I think coming up as well, Ben will be doing the same. So a couple of episodes where we're taking a step away from Resi, but other than that, keep an eye on the channel to stay up with our playthrough. The other thing I've been playing a little bit more is Dark Alliance, the remaster. Still really enjoying that. I think it's, as I said in the Quip Scope, it's exactly what you want out of that game, in that they've kind of presented it in the way that you remember it with your rose-tinted glasses. You know, if you went back to play it now on PS2, you might be a bit disappointed if you've not played it for a long time. But to play the kind of re-released version, it's just what you want. If you played that game back in the day, honestly, go and give it a go, because I've really enjoyed revisiting it, and I'm looking forward to getting right to the end, and potentially, they might release the sequel as well. That would be good. It probably depends on how successful this game is, but the sequel was great. So that's maybe something coming up in the next year or so. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, but that's what I've been playing.
Suppose we will, won't we?
Yeah.
Nice. I've been really looking forward to it. Seeing some more Resi 8.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long old break between streams, but
it is. Well, it's going to be a long old, I think, game in general. It's going to be a fair few episodes going off how long I've been playing it, and I'm still, as I say, I think maybe 2/3, 3/4 of the way through. And I've put my in-game timer is like 8 hours, but I'm pretty sure I've played it for maybe more like 10 by now. I don't think the in-game time is quite accurate.
Okay. I've heard the average completion time is between 8 and 10 hours, so
right.
Kind of lines up. But yeah, well, that's cool. The next time we'll be playing it will be on next week's Sleepover stream, which is somewhat appropriate. So that'll be fun. I look forward to that.
Yeah. What have you been playing in the meantime while you wait for that exciting next installment of Resident Evil?
Well, I have been tiding myself over with a tiny little bit of Warzone. I played that last night. Again, going back to the first question, sort of tiding me over because I am intending to pick up Mass Effect Remastered very soon.
Me too.
And I've sort of just been killing time until I get it.
Right.
So yes, played some Warzone, won another mini royale rebirth, whatever the hell it's called, on the island. I don't know. Anyway, won a game, was pretty rad, felt like a superstar.
Nice.
Real superstar. And then spent, as is tradition, the rest of the evening dying almost immediately. Not even coming close to replicating those heights. I spent most of the weekend just gone playing Borderlands 2 with a couple of my friends, and that was lovely. I like that game so much. It's such a good game. In fact, I like it so much that I have often been very curious about the PlayStation Vita port of Borderlands 2, which by all accounts is not very good, because they've, rather than sort of streamlining the experience for a handheld version, it's literally, here is Borderlands 2 but running on a Vita. And it is supposedly very buggy and doesn't really work very well. But I've always been morbidly curious to play it and try it for myself. I think it reviewed 64%,
right,
as opposed to 91% on home consoles. So that's sort of what we're talking about here. It was farmed out to an external studio, and by all accounts they did their best. But I have bought a copy of that, and I'm really looking forward to just hopping in on Vita. It does have a cross save between, which is probably why they wanted to just, make it exactly the same experience but on Vita. So you could copy your save over from PS4 and PS3. So I may well do that. Hop in, just see how compressed it is. Very, very interested. But apart from that, I have finished Crash 2, and I have played and finished Crash 3.
Oh, brilliant. Which one did you enjoy the most?
3. Definitely 3.
Me too.
All the games just get better and better. I will say that I did still find 3 about as frustrating as I did fun, but I think that's largely due to the headaches of just how far gaming has come, over the last 20 years. It's not fair to compare those games to now, but with no nostalgia, with no muscle memory, going into it fresh with, only 2021 games being the standard that I'm used to in that particular arena. It was frustrating at times. I'll say that much. But I've done it. I've finished the Crash games. Those have been well and truly ticked off the backlog now. I can say that I have played them, and I'm glad that I have.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next up, it's either Silent Hill
or Wrath of Cortex.
Yes. Twin Sanity. Silent Hill or... Flipping out, what's it called? Is it the Castlevania game on PS1? Is it Symphony of the Night? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think that... Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never played a Castlevania game myself.
I have those two downloaded. Apart from the PS3 one. I played the PS3
Actually,
one.
that's a lie. I played...
That was really good.
Yeah, what was that called? Castlevania Lords of Shadow, right?
Lords of Shadow, yeah, and it had Sir Pat Stew in it.
It did, didn't it? That was a really good
Richard
game.
Armitage, I think. Was he the main guy?
Oh, did it? I don't remember his voice, but he does have a distinct... Maybe, I don't know, I might have missed it at the time, but...
I might be wrong, but I did enjoy that. That was a good one. I remember IGN got in a lot of trouble because they reviewed it very low. And everyone was like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
It was a bit grindy and difficult at times, but it was enjoyable.
It was tough. Yeah, it was tough. But I'm sure the PS1 version is going to be way harder, but we'll see how I get on. I've heard it's really good, and it commands quite a high price, I believe, on the sort of in the retro market, and the fact that it was on the sort of PS1 classics on the digital store, and I got it for like £5. I felt like that was a worthy investment. So I will. I'll give one of those a go, and I'll see how I get on. But that is what I've been playing.
Well, that means it's time for question 2, Ben.
It does. It does indeed. And it comes from David Lever, who says, Ole Neb and Retep, which is backwards. Often when talking about indie/AAA, the conversation turns to the lack of things an indie dev was able to do, e.g. due to budgetary restrictions. But looking at it the other way, what, if any, benefits do you think a game gains by being produced by an indie dev/studio? For instance, I love Edmund Macmillan's games and his style is really distinctive, which could be lost if developed by a much larger team or with more corporate oversight. Peak Poo Echt Doog Crow Divad.
Thank you, Divad.
Yeah.
It's a fair question. I think that there are certainly many benefits to developing an indie game. That's probably partly why there are so many with such a good reputation. They've come out so well because these indie studios are able to make their own decisions. I think that's it. It's being able to put a very individual style on things, which of course you can still do to an extent as a AAA company. You can release a huge budget game that's got very much its own visual style or gameplay style. It's got certain uniqueness about it. But I think it's something you associate even more strongly with indie games is, interesting art styles, for example, or gameplay mechanics. I think one of the best things, if we're talking about a game that is maybe being crowdfunded, not necessarily this works in both cases, but certainly crowdfunded indie games, is having that audience dialogue during the development phase itself, being able to put out betas, alpha builds, just like show assets off as they're in development. Again, you can do that as a AAA studio if you wish, but it doesn't tend to happen as much. by the time builds are released for bigger games. Because, I mean, I think it's partly, of course, because the games are so big that the earlier builds of AAA games tend to be very buggy because there's all kinds of things that need addressing. Whereas with perhaps a slightly smaller game that's being done by an indie studio, you can release those earlier builds and they're probably likely to be a bit more stable, I suppose, because there are fewer kind of bells and whistles to be concerned with at that stage in development. But I think just above all is having that control over what you do and don't do with your game, rather than having a big publisher saying, no, these are our margins, this is what you need to sell the game for, this is the kind of level we expect from the game in order for it to sell a certain, to sell well or make enough money, and to have, let's say, money-making methods perhaps forced on you or heavily suggested, perhaps microtransactions, perhaps cosmetic stuff, or sort of freemium add-ons and things like that. Those things, as a general rule, tend to come from a publisher rather than a developer. I don't think there are that many development studios, AAA or indie, who are actively saying, I really want to include some slightly unethical microtransactions in my game. It tends to be from the publisher rather than the developer. So that's probably the best thing, I think, that comes from indie development. It's perhaps not as wholesome an answer as David's, who talks about, Edmund Macmillan's style, distinctive style. I'm just here talking about money and microtransactions, but to be more matter of fact, I think that's probably one of the best things that comes of developing something as an indie studio, is just having that agency and that control over things like that.
Absolutely. You can just be uncompromising in your vision and just make something without interference. And I'm assuming in this instance we're talking about, the very small indie studio. We're not talking about, say, Insomniac pre-PlayStation purchase, where they were independent. They would just make games on a contract for PlayStation or Xbox, We're talking about the very, very, very small teams, oftentimes one-person team, that sort of stuff. Yeah. I will say, this may not always have been the case, and it certainly won't have always been the case, but Edmund Macmillan certainly doesn't have to worry about financing his games anymore. That is gone. That headache is gone. He's, if people are unfamiliar, he's behind Super Meat Boy and Binding of Isaac, and so on. And that financial issue really is a killer for a lot of indie devs. So it's, while you do have creative agency, if you don't have money coming in, there's a good chance your game either won't go out at all, it will take years to make, or it will release and nobody will see it because you've got no marketing budget and you've got to rely on word of mouth. There's so many risks to being an indie dev. My friend Chris Balch, who was on the BBC podcast we did last year, worked on his indie game for years and years just in his spare time, just doing little bits and pieces when he could. And that is the story for the vast majority of independent developers. Bedroom developers, just doing it when they can. And we're all largely only aware of the success stories, your Edmund Macmillans, for example. And I would say that Edmund Macmillan, if he were to partner with a big publisher, he would probably be able to, at this point, demand sort of an element of independence, especially in terms of his approach and his art style, because that is, like with Divad, that is what people go to his games for, is his style. And but that's obviously not always been the case. And without having his start being truly independent and being able to carve out that niche for himself, with the, that being the major benefit of being independent, he wouldn't be at the stage where those opportunities could potentially come to him and he would still have that independence. So, man, there's obviously a lot that can go wrong in game development anyway, and being an independent developer is sort of that, but times 1,000. Except that the big trade-off, as we've said, is that you get to make whatever you want, you want. but there's no guarantee that anyone will buy it, and that's the problem.
Yeah, it's the same with people who self-publish books, or well, self-publish anything. I guess that's the entire point of the question. Yeah, you get people who Amazon allow you to essentially just self-publish anything you like on there, and it's great that you don't have to now like send off a manuscript to a book publisher and go, please make my book. But equally, there are so many independent authors now on the likes of Amazon who, I feel bad for them because they've probably got something good there. But because they felt the need to go and do it themselves, they just don't get the marketing, and these things don't get put out there. It's a shame. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Peter, it's time to move on.
Yes.
To something a little strange.
Are you ready?
Yeah, you could call it weird news.
Weird news.
It's weird news time, Peter. Oh, goodness, Peter. What weird video game story have you brought this week?
I've got a story this week that was sent to me via Twitter DM from Cameron Keywood at Cameron_Keywood. And it's really something. It's from Destructoid.com, written by Chris Moyes, who says, Resident Evil Village's Lady Dimitrescu, which that's what I'm settling on now, by the way, pronunciation.
Oh, really? We've gone back again.
I think so. Lady Dimitrescu. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Man. I'm just going to keep calling her Lady D. I don't want to.
Yeah, okay. Resident Evil Village's Lady D to receive her own flavour of G Fuel.
Oh, good. Okay.
The subheading is Taste Her Love in Every Sip.
Brilliant. Don't like that.
I'm not really sure of the demographic crossover of vampiric society queens and energy drink guzzling esports types, but never one to miss a marketing opportunity, Capcom has collaborated with G Fuel to produce a brand new flavour based on Lady D, one of the popular antagonists from the recently released Resident Evil Village. Titled Maiden's Blood, the powdered hell comes in a container not quite as tall as the good lady herself, along with a 24-ounce shaker cup, which will make you the coolest person at the gym. Honest. Packed with vitamins and supplements to increase focus, endurance, and reaction. Flipping G Fuel, man, it's amazing. G Fuel hopes that Dimitrescu's her horrifying elixir will help consumers reach new heights, but not 9'6". What does Maiden's Blood, and then it says thunderclap, taste like? Melon.
What was that sentence?
It's in asterisks, so they've added their own sound effect to the sentence there. What does Maiden's Blood thunderclap taste like?
Yeah.
Melon. Flipping melon. And
that's a shame.
I spared you the actual swear word in the prose there.
Whoa, okay.
They really like to just go...
I'm passionate about melon.
Fast and loose in Destructoid.com. Scheduled to launch in July 2021, interested parties can jump on a waiting list right now over on the official G Fuel website. I'll definitely be downing the stuff while I go about my slavish tasks for Lady D. He actually put Lady D in the prose.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Including sweeping her floors, polishing her shoes, getting the bloodstains out of her dress, responding to her emails, and sorting her recycling. And then that's the end of the article there. That's a bit of a weird thing. Spoiler alert, you don't do any of those things for her in the game, so I don't know where he's pulled that from. Sweeping her floors, sorting her recycling.
What was his name?
Chris Moyes.
That's Chris just projecting, I think, perhaps a dream he's had.
Mm-hmm. Maybe so.
Into the article.
So, coming soon... Oh, hang on, no. No. What? Okay. So there's then a huge video embedded in the prose, in the body of the article, which I think is just an ad. And then underneath that, there's a single line before the article ends, which I missed, and it just says, so responding to her emails and sorting her recycling. It's a living. Besides, Daniela is surprisingly good at Crossfire. And then that's the end of the article.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. It's lost on me.
Is Lady D's first name Daniela?
I don't know. Is that... Let's look that up. Daniela...
This is just... What an adventure. Also, what is G Fuel? I've seen a few people sort of promote it on Twitter, you know, streamer types and so on.
It is her first name, Daniela.
Is it?
Yeah.
Daniela Dimitrescu.
G Fuel is... It's like a... I think it's powdered. It's a powdered drink, sort of energy drink, that's targeted specifically at gamers because when you take it, it allegedly... increases
gives you heart palpitations.
It gives you heart palpitations. Packed with vitamins and supplements to increase focus, endurance, and reaction.
Oh, shut up.
What is the science of that? Is that real?
It sounds disgusting.
Doesn't
the thing is, though, if they approached us and offered us a sponsorship deal, we would take it. So don't be surprised if you do eventually hear us shill for G Fuel. But God, I hate stuff marketed at quote unquote gamers. It's just so patronizing and it's so cringy. It's awful.
I've just Googled it, and the little kind of line that Google gives you about the website underneath the link that you can't always find on the website itself, which is always fun, says, "Crush your competition today with G Fuel, the official energy drink of esports." Registered trademark. Available in 40 plus lip smacking flavors.
Oh, no.
Trusted by PewDiePie, FaZe Clan.
Oh, great. ...
I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm sold. Those guys have it all together.
Yeah.
I trust them.
Mm-hmm. With
Brilliant.
my health.
That sounds great. When I went to EGX once a number of years ago, they were handing out free... They often hand out free cans of energy drinks, but there was a new one there, and they'd obviously spent a lot of money because I'd never heard of them, just to be there on the show floor. I think it was called Tornado Energy Drink, and that was another gamer energy drink.
Right.
And there was the guy handing out on the show floor, and you could hear him from miles around. He would just be yelling, "Don't just win, do damage."
Oh, God.
Don't just win, do damage. And me and my friends still quote that to each other because it was just the worst thing I've ever heard.
I always
Don't just win. Do damage. What?
I always feel
to my
sorry
liver?
for people who have to... They've been told exactly what they have to keep saying as they hand things out. You must have seen those people who, for a time, Coke were handing out either Coke Zero or... it was Coke Zero or Diet Coke, or Coke Zero or regular Coke, I'm not sure. Have a Coke-tastic day. No, they would say... So they would ask you which one you wanted, and if you wanted the one that wasn't Coke Zero, they would just say, "Here you go, enjoy," or whatever. But if you said, "Oh, I'll have Coke Zero, please," they'll go, "Coke Zero. 0 sugar, 0 calories, same great taste." And there would be people queuing, and there would be like 12 people, and maybe like 6 of them in a row would say, "I'll have Coke Zero, please." And everyone could hear the person say every single time, "Coke Zero. 0 sugar, 0 calories, same great taste."
Oh, poor people.
I know.
That is terrible. I mean, pretty much everyone who works those conventions or even those things, they're just hired, aren't they, from like an events agency. They don't actually work for PlayStation or Tornado Energy or whatever, you know.
Yeah. Would you like to see a picture of KSI dressed as a strawberry on the G Fuel website?
I don't really ever want to see a picture of KSI, but in this instance, sure, I'll see him dressed as a strawberry. Why not?
Here he is. Brilliant.
Well, yeah, there he is. He looks thrilled. How much money do you think he made from that?
Oh, a lot. When you hover over it, it says KSI YouTube celebrity. That's what he is. That's his job.
I suppose, yeah. I suppose so.
Yeah.
There he is as a strawberry. Awful. Yeah. Absolutely awful.
Have you got some weird news for me, Ben?
Yeah, I have. I certainly do. Let me just clear my mind. Thank you to Elizabeth at Crash on the Way on Twitter.
Oh, it's a double submission from the community this week.
Here we go. So you should support us on Patreon, of course. But if you want to follow us on Twitter and send us weird news, we may use that and include it in the podcast. Here we are. This comes from Nintendo Life, written by Ryan Craddock. Local council installs plant pots that look like Mario warp pipes and residents aren't happy.
Oh, God. I mean, Nintendo probably won't be happy when they find out. They'll be ceasing and desisting.
Yeah, I suppose they will. Here we go, so you can have a little look at them. There are the plant pots.
Oh, they're not that bad. What? They're not deliberate. Okay, sorry, continue.
As devoted fans of Mario's classic platforming adventures, we'd very much welcome the idea of a few warp pipes dotted around our local town centre, but some residents in Walsall, UK aren't quite on the same page. As reported by Birmingham Live, Walsall Council has spent taxpayers' cash on some new plant pots to promote a feeling of well-being and safety, and to enhance the town centre. The council has received a total of £1.5 million to spruce up two areas.
1.5 million complaints from residents.
In the West Midlands town, and councillor Adrian Andrew, two first names, says that the new planting aims to create... Yes, the new planting, that is what it says, aims to create a more social space outside Walsall Art Gallery, which is all very nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, local residents aren't best pleased with the new arrivals, blasting the pots for looking like Super Mario warp pipes and explaining that the money could have been spent on other, more important things. Andrea Loveridge, a local florist, said, "We've had so many shop closures in the past few years, and the best thing the council can come up with is these garish monstrosities. It beggars belief. It makes the place look more like something from Super Mario Brothers. They look like those warp pipes Mario jumps down."
There's no way, she said, it looks like something from Super Mario Brothers. No one would say that.
I'm afraid that's how they do it in Walsall, Peter.
Because you're in either two camps when it comes to Mario. You either know what Mario is or you don't. And I'm not making an assumption that a female florist would or wouldn't know what Mario is. But if you don't know what Mario is, you wouldn't know to call it Super Mario Brothers. And if you do know what Mario is, you wouldn't bother calling it Super Mario Brothers. So I don't know where that's come from. That's a paraphrase on the part of the writer, I'm calling it.
They look like those warp pipes Mario jumps down.
Yeah, they do.
Supermarket worker. Oh, brilliant. Supermarket worker, are you ready?
Yeah.
Sue Morrison.
Wow.
Adds, everyone is calling them Mario pipes. It makes us a bit of a laughing stock. We can understand why residents would want the money to be spent more wisely, especially in a town described by Sue as dilapidated and tired looking. But we imagine local Nintendo fans won't be too upset. And then there's a video about, people being upset about the plant pots. They don't look that bad. They don't look great.
I mean, the plants inside them look more depressing than the pots.
They do. The water is just sort of like leaking. Hang on, let me send you. Hopefully it'll just show you the thumbnail for this. But the water is just kind of leaking.
Oh, yeah, look at that. It looks
a bit crap. The photo, the first photo, doesn't really show the area around it. They've painted the... It looks like it's a pedestrianised area that's been painted, and it looks quite nice. And then across the road, you've got, what is that? The oldest looking multi-print shop I've ever seen. Everything else in this photo looks quite modern and quite nice, including the plant pots. But then I think it's just surrounded by really, really old, knackered looking businesses. As Sue said, Mrs. Morrison's.
Yeah. It's a shame because, councils... they get some money to spend on plant pots or whatever in town, and they think, do we just buy some big ugly square planters that you see all over the place in the UK, or do we should we try and be a bit more fun about it? We could get some sort of green, wacky, strange shaped ones. I mean, I'm sure they weren't aiming for the Mario comparison, but let's do something a bit different. People are mad about it. They really want just plant pots that look almost identical to all of the litter bins in the area so that they match. Yeah,
the fact that they're all different shapes and sizes is strange as well, considering that they appear to have very similar plants in them.
Yeah.
I don't know. There we are. It's my weird news.
That's good news there. I like that.
Let's move on to the next question.
Let's. Question 3, it's from Ellie Nicholas, and Ellie says, "Hey boy," singular, that's what it says.
Right, just you then.
Not you. As a girl who plays video games online, there's a certain amount of trolling / bullying / threats that get thrown, not just my way, but for many girls as well. Have you ever seen this? And do you think there needs to be harder punishments for people who do this. Thank you. You guys are amazing. Thank you, Ellie.
Thank you.
Well, you're absolutely right, Ellie. And I think that, unfortunately, this is very difficult to police. And that's not, by any stretch of the imagination, a reason to say, so, I guess we've got to live with it.
I suppose it's fine, isn't it?
Yeah, let's just do it. It's just, I think that's part of the problem, unfortunately. It's difficult to... So, certain people in the video game community, and let's face it, most of them men/boys, will feel that it's appropriate to have a go at female gamers because they are female. And I guess the issue is that they might choose to have a go at a female gamer on voice chat or whatever if they find out that they're playing against a woman. But they might not outright address the fact that she's female. So they might choose that person as a target because she's female, but then just kind of say, you're crap, or, why are you so rubbish at this game? They might not always actually mention sex or gender in that. And I think for starters, that makes it difficult to outright say, oh, well, clearly you're targeting that person because of their gender. If they're not explicitly saying so. Again, I say that doesn't mean that it's okay for people to do that, but I think that is part of the issue. And unfortunately, I find that systems that are put in place either on video game consoles and online networks and on social media as well, when it comes to reporting things like this, it kind of has varying levels of effectiveness, and I don't really know why. I'm not privy to how these things are handled and exactly what boxes you have to tick or not tick to be considered, being inappropriate in your conduct. So that's difficult, and that's a shame. I do think, though, this did make me remember a weird news story I did not so long ago, a few episodes back, where the reason this story was weird is that it was dealing with a voice recognition system that was being spoken about at some conference somewhere, where they were like, hey, do you want to use our technology? And it was about picking up people who were being, who were flaming people online, trolling and stuff on online games. The weird news aspect was that it allowed you to choose whether you wanted some sexism, most racism, no ableism, and yes or no, do you want the N-word? You could choose weird combinations. However, one thing that, I look at that system and I think, sliders aside, there's got to be something in there. And I actually think that if you just look at it for what it is, that technology, and in a more serious with a more serious stance, there's got to be something there in terms of being able to recognize when people are, saying, you're a girl gamer, you're crap, what are you doing here? Why aren't you playing X game instead? You shouldn't be playing Call of Duty. All these sorts of things that people come out with and are completely unfounded. And perhaps that kind of technology is the way to go in terms of trying to make a more concerted effort to stamp this out. I do think that the video game scene seems to have become more accepting of female gamers than it was perhaps sort of 15, 20 years ago. That's not to say there's no longer a problem. As Ellie points out, it's still very much an ongoing issue. So I don't want for 1 minute to imply that, hey, it's fine now, because it's not. But hopefully, given that we've already moved to some extent in the correct direction since, the 90s and the noughties, perhaps we will continue to do so as time goes on, and just gradually over time, people will be start to become a bit more gender blind as time goes on. I think there's always going to be a certain group of people who are going to say awful things, and it's the same in any kind of sort of prejudice in gaming, whether it's gender or not. But hopefully things are already moving in the right direction. Yeah. What do you think, Ben?
I mean, it'd be weird if I disagreed, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be weird if I was like, no, it's fine?
It's fine.
Don't know what you're talking about. Obviously, Peter and I have never experienced this kind of abuse because we are fortunate enough to be boys in a world where boys are largely the aggressors, and so we're not usually the targets of abuse and harassment online. I am not
on the basis of gender, anyway.
No, just because we're awful and people hate our hot video game takes. But certainly, in terms of playing online, like I don't doubt for a second that this stuff still goes on, and I want to make that perfectly clear. But everybody I play games with now tends to play in like private parties and stuff. Yeah. So while we're playing, multiplayer with lots of other people, I have my privacy settings set up so people who aren't on my friends list can't send me messages. I have it so that when I'm playing online with friends, I don't use the game's audio chat. We set up a party where we can talk to one another. And this is not to be perfectly clear, this is not to say for a moment that the victims of abuse should do more to prevent this stuff from happening.
That's a slippery slope, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Because clearly it's the people who are abusing that are the ones that need to be dealt with, and I'll get onto that in a second. But certainly there are some sort of systems. There are various systems in place on gaming platforms, online, PC, console, that sort of stuff, where you can sort of shield yourself to an extent. And that is largely because, as you said, it's really difficult to police this stuff. And you and I experienced this firsthand in terms of trying to protect our community not in a gaming sense, but just in terms of being an online community. So we've got mods when we live stream to make sure that people aren't being dicks in the chat and stuff. And we have a fantastic community anyway, that largely do not cause any problems, and that's wonderful. And they do call out people's behavior, especially when we're streaming on YouTube, because that place is just a cesspool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where randoms do sort of wander in, and that tends not to happen on Twitch. So our community is fantastic already, and we love them all, and that's great. Unfortunately, though, we cannot be in the comments section of every video we've ever uploaded every day.
Yeah.
And that is usually just the worst place to be, is a comment section on YouTube. And so by way of some sort of comparison, I suppose what I'm saying is that while we can take certain measures to protect members of our community and make sure that everyone feels happy and is enjoying themselves and feels safe, there's always going to be blind spots that we can't really control. And I suppose, to an extent, it's the same with online gaming as well. That's not to say that platforms can't do more, because they should. I'm not entirely sure what more constitutes. Perhaps it's stricter punishments. Perhaps it's, instead of just banning accounts, they need to ban IPs, so people can't just create a new account and then hop straight back on and start abusing the same person again. I don't know. Honestly, it's a complicated issue. What isn't complicated is that everyone has a right to feel safe online, full stop, in any capacity, not just gaming. But it then becomes really challenging when you take into account VPNs and the various ways that people who are dead set on being dicks will find new ways to be dicks. And I don't know how that is solvable apart from at a very sort of, I don't know, in a very root way, in like an almost parental way, like how they are raised, sort of.
Oh yeah.
And at that point, I don't know what, for example, Xbox Live or PlayStation or even Discord can do. How can they stop a person from being an arse apart from removing them from their platform? And if they keep coming back, then what do? Well, how can they stop that? Ban their IP. Okay, well, now they're using a VPN and they're pretending they're in another part of the world and they're still coming on. Right, ban that IP. Okay, they've jumped again. It's really difficult, I think, for platforms to completely wipe this stuff out. But I suppose the bottom line is that everyone in in an online community, or if you're playing with a group of friends or whatever, however you're playing games, you've got to remain vigilant and you've got to call it out when you see it, and you've got to report these people when they cross the line. And unfortunately, we've just got to trust these platforms to do the rest.
Yeah.
And hope that clears it up. But it's appalling that it's appalling that this is still an issue to this day, and it's still going on.
I mean, fortunately, it's becoming more and more of a thing where people who are abusing others online, or indeed in person, of course, are now facing actual legal charges, criminal charges, certainly in the UK, and I'm sure elsewhere in the world, where you can get done for hate speech if you're, depending on the severity of what it is that you say. I'm not suggesting for a moment that if someone goes, girls can't play Call of Duty, that they should then go to prison. But certainly people who take it even further than that. I mean, obviously, I hasten to add, people who do say girls can't play Call of Duty still need to be punished in some way. They probably need to, have, as you say, account sanctions and things like that. But the point I'm trying to make is people who perhaps take things further and are outright abusive and, as you say, maybe follow people from server to server, or, consistently send messages, and, there are certain lines, and the more you step it up, there's got to be a point where it becomes exactly the same. It must be viewed in exactly the same light as it would be if you were abusing someone on Facebook, for example, which, as I say, nowadays people can be, they can face charges for things like that. So, that's talking about the more severe examples, but at least, again, that I think is a positive step in the right direction if that is policed properly. And that's a whole conversation about, semantics and privacy and freedom of speech and things like that, which you can get really bogged down in because it's complicated. But if those things are done, quote unquote, properly, I think that's a good thing, that in the same way that women are generally just being more accepted now in the gaming world than they were 10, 15 years ago. Likewise, hate speech online is becoming less and less acceptable, or it's not kind of flying under the radar so much now. Yeah, it's taken more seriously, and people are being caught out doing it now than a lot more than they used to. So those are both positive things.
As with so many social issues, we've still got a very long way to go.
Yeah.
Things are better, and all we can do as patrons, I suppose, of online gaming and online platforms is just to work together to help pressure the platform holders to make things safer, and to just work together to build something better. I suppose that's just on a, if you want to get philosophical about this, it's sort of like the human condition, isn't it? You just want to leave a better world for your kids, don't you? You do. So just got to keep building. Just got to keep building towards something better. I'm so sorry that you're facing abuse, though, Ellie, and of course everybody else that faces abuse. It's terrible. Peter and I are both extremely privileged white boys, and we do not face a lot of the abuse and the worst stuff that society can throw at you, and so we are completely out of touch in that aspect. But certainly we are hugely sympathetic and want to make sure that the world is just a better place for everyone, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I suppose that's all we can do.
Yeah. Wow, there we go. Well, that was almost a big discussion, I would say.
It was. I wasn't expecting that. But we are going to end on something perhaps quite fun.
Yeah, indeed.
Are you ready, Peter?
It's time for a fun discussion.
Oh, it's also big. It's time for the big discussion. This week, the big discussion comes courtesy of Brooks Essentialist, who says, "Hello lads, since the demise of playable demos, trailers appear to have reached primacy in marketing video games." God, what a good sentence that was.
Yeah.
I feel the creation of an engaging trailer is an art in itself, be it for a game, movie, or TV show. What is your favourite video game trailer, and did the game live up to the heights set by it? For example, my favourite is the Halo ODST live-action We Are ODST trailer, and the game, while okay, did not live up to the trailer. Thanks always, you guys are the best, at Brooksistential on Twitter. I've picked a few, Peter, I don't know about you.
I picked a proper trailer, a trailer, and my favourite teaser as well.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my favourite, I think probably, I was going to say one of the best trailers of all time, maybe even the best video game trailer of all time, was for a game that absolutely did not live up to the hype of the trailer. And not just because the trailer was that good that people were expecting too much. It was like completely tonally different. You might know what I'm about to say. It might even be on your list. I think the Dead Island trailer.
Yes, the reverse one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunningly good and horrible.
It won
and
awards,
harrowing.
Didn't it?
Yeah.
I think that trailer did.
Yeah.
Talk us through it then. What happened in it?
Sure. So it begins, it's actually been parodied by Goat Sim and other things, so you might have seen parodies of it. But it starts with a zoom out of a young girl, like a child, who's lying dead on the floor, which is, lovely. And I think in the background there are like people running around on fire and stuff. And so it's zooming out from her, and then when it reaches a wide shot, suddenly you realise that you've been watching something in reverse this whole time. She was lying there on the ground, but it's been in reverse, and she sort of jerks up and she falls upwards because she's come out of a window. So it shows her smashing through this window in reverse. And then you get this weird intercut thing of sort of the story of how she got there, how she ended up being thrown out of the window in reversed segments of her as a zombie attacking her parents, but as I say, all in reverse. And then intercut with that are forward clips of her as a terrified child running up a corridor away from zombies. And the two, as they cut between each other, one going in one direction, one going the other, they kind of meet each other in the middle as she like runs into her dad's arms. So I'm sure there will be cuts of it on YouTube where you can actually watch the kind of the full story pieced together in the correct order. But essentially she's running up this corridor in a hotel at a beach resort. She runs to her parents' arms as these zombies chase her. But I think she's either already been bitten. I think she has. I think she's been bitten already. And so they hold themselves up in this room, and then she like bites her dad on the shoulder, and I don't know if he sort of outright does it on purpose, but in kind of trying to wrestle her off, he ends up throwing her out of the window of the hotel. She lands on the grass, and that's it. But it's sort of the way it's cut as much as anything else is you start out with this, almost sort of demonic, horrible monster of a zombie child and think, oh, what's this? And then you're like, oh, wait, no, she's falling out of a window, but she's bitten her dad, but she's running terrified. And the fact that it ends with her running into his arms and she just sort of looks up at him like, oh, am I safe now? I'm going to be okay now. I'm in dad's arms. And already, no, you're not. You're about to go out that window. And
yeah.
Oh, awful.
It's very melancholy,
harrowing.
Isn't it? The music too. It's just piano and a little bit of violin, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Just sort of, it's very melancholic. And then I think, is it the last shot of the trailer? Certainly at some point in there's like a family photo and they're all posing because they've all gone on this really exciting family holiday together. The mum and the dad and the young girl. And then you're like, oh, that holiday didn't end so well, did it?
Yeah.
I suppose they should have thought about that when they went to Dead Island. But there we go.
Yeah.
And then the game was terrible.
Yeah, it was. It was just
rubbish.
A sort of hack and slash zombie. I mean, I think in and of itself, the game was. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't. It wasn't awful.
It was super buggy. I think that was.
It
part
was
of the
buggy.
problem.
Yeah, it was actually. But
really
certainly,
buggy.
It was nothing like what people were expecting. They probably thought it was going to be like something like The Last of Us, with like family kind of storylines and emotion and this undead survival story, not necessarily about that family. I think we could have guessed that perhaps they weren't going to be in it, but still, that it would still have that kind of emotional punch to it, and it really didn't.
The Last of Us is, after all, lest we forget, just the Dead Island debut trailer of video games.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Pretty much.
Dead Island did it first.
Yeah. I remember Jeff Ramsey from Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunter and stuff. At the time, they put a video out of him watching this trailer. I think other people in the office had seen it, and they wanted to get his reaction as he watched it. And in like the first 3 seconds, as it's zooming out from this kid, I think he says something like, "If this girl is between the ages of 6 and 10 years old, I'm not going to be able to watch this trailer." And then as she starts falling backwards through the window, he immediately just turns it off and says, "Right, now I'm done with that. No, that's it. That's enough." So he doesn't watch the whole thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
It was good. Caused a big old fuss at the time.
It did, yeah. Do you maybe want to do one of yours, and then I'll come back to a teaser?
Sure. So my specific memories of trailers largely begin around 2010, especially with the examples I've cited, because I think demos were still fairly prevalent at that point. Before then, you could still download demos for, 360 and PS3. You just got them less and less in magazines. You just had to, download them from the various stores. So the first one I've got here is the first Skyrim trailer.
Yeah, of course.
The music, the Fusrodar, the dragon, the narration with but it's something about the Oblivion Gates. They're already here. The sons of Sky, all that nonsense, fantasy nonsense.
There's one they fear. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. They call him Dovahkiin. And then the music kicks in. You've got the male choir doing the thing, and it's the chills, the music, the panning shots of all the towns and the caves and the combat, and it was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's new Oblivion. They've made Oblivion 2.
Yeah.
How exciting. Yeah, that was huge. And then it was hey, by the way, it's coming out on 11/11/11.
Yeah, the way it twisted
this year
to reveal the date. Yeah.
Have fun with that. Coming out this year, bro. It was very exciting. As much as I cannot play Skyrim anymore, I was beyond excited for that game, and that trailer was phenomenal.
I watched that trailer so much in the time waiting for the game. Just every couple of months, just check in and watch it again and again. That was such a good one. Dan
Bull's rap. Do you remember Dan Bull's Skyrim
I do,
rap?
yeah.
That
Who's
was
rapping?
really good as well.
Keen.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
they call me the Dragonborn, something badass horns.
Yeah, wearing a hat with badass horns.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was good too, because I think that was actually paid for by Bethesda for him to do that. It was, I remember watching that a lot. It was good stuff. It was good stuff.
It was.
I could slip another quick one in, if that's all right.
Go for it, yeah.
The Arkham City trailer with the music Ain't No Place for a Hero by The Heavy, and I really like The Heavy. Their music's fantastic, and if you're not familiar with them, you will certainly know their songs. They're used in trailers quite a lot, like How You Like Me Now, the dun, 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 that one. That's in loads of stuff. That trailer was fantastic, and I think the music really made it, and obviously excitement for Arkham City was very high anyway, and I just thought that one really stuck with me. Particularly for the music choice.
Yeah. That's just reminded me of one, actually. I seem to remember thinking that the Duke Nukem Forever trailer looked good. I think looking at it now...
With the 12 studios.
Yeah. But I think looking at it now, you can look at each gameplay clip and go, oh yeah, that's that rubbish bit where that rubbish thing happens, and that's that other rubbish bit there. And so now it looks bad in hindsight. But I think at the time, I seem to remember feeling like, because it was Invaders Must Die was playing. And, it just seemed like this silly, stupid, overblown, exciting game that everyone had been waiting for. And the Duke's quipping and saying stupid, probably sexist things, which, I'm sure... At least those things I wasn't going, oh yeah, brilliant, wonderful.
Oh, classic Duke, that's so funny. I'm going to say that to all my friends.
Yeah, all of them. But, broadly speaking, it was just this big, exciting spectacle. And yeah, now in hindsight, it's got too many other associations, I think, to be remotely enjoyable. Fair. But yeah, certainly for the time. So I brought along a teaser as well, which, I think there's you can get as much out of a teaser trailer as you can a full gameplay trailer. just to kind of set the tone of a game, hint at maybe a setting or a time period, particularly in an established franchise. So to kind of tie in with Brooks Existentialist's example, I thought the Halo Reach teaser trailer was really good. So what happened with that was it was a panning shot of the planet Reach. And Halo Reach is a prequel to the Halo trilogy. And those who knew anything about the Halo trilogy at the time will have known that Reach was a human kind of outpost planet. And I think it was essentially the last sort of bastion before Earth. So the Covenant alien enemies didn't know where Earth was, but I think it was kind of known that if the Covenant ever made it to Reach, the next stop would be Earth, basically. So it's a huge deal if the Covenant ever find the planet Reach. So the camera's panning over Reach, and all you can hear is people talking on the comms. That's it. It's just radio chatter, and someone saying, "I'm pretty sure I just picked up a slip space rupture in the area," and some of the other guys like, "That's impossible. You have to check your source. Like that's impossible." And they soon confirm that, like, well, hang on, no, like someone's here, like something's arrived. And then sort of the last half of the trailer is just loads of people all panicking and screaming and saying, "Oh God, no, we need forces down here," and "Oh God, what's happening?" And there's just this blind panic of all these people shouting. And then right at the end, this voice comes on and says, "We have Spartans on the ground, sir. We're not going anywhere." And it goes, "Da, da, 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 da." So it's kind of, that silly sort of, yeah, that's me. That's what I'm going to be. I'm
a Spartan.
I'm the Spartan.
I will be on the ground.
I'm going to save all of those people. It's kind of the juxtaposition of all this panic and fear and, oh, we're all going to die. And then the hero steps in and says, "I'm here. We're going to save the day." I thought that had as much punch as any kind of full gameplay trailer could have had. Reminded me of my favourite movie teaser of all time. You must have seen me talk about this on Twitter before, because I post about it every probably 18 months just to remind everyone how great it is the Rogue One teaser, which it was at some convention somewhere, and they sat everyone down in this room and they said, "We've got a trailer for you." No one knew about Rogue One, what it was going to be, or that it was even coming. And the opening crawl to A New Hope starts playing, and people are like cheering because they're Star Wars fans, but they're like, "Why are we watching the opening to A New Hope?" And the second paragraph of that is, during the battle, rebel spies managed to steal plans for the new superweapon, the Death Star. And as it reaches that bit of the crawl, suddenly the text starts to slowly tilt, and this like alarm starts going off. And again, it's just people yelling over the comms, like, "We need covering fire," and dying and screaming. Yeah. And it just slowly zooms in on that text, and then it says Rogue One. And I think that, again, is just, you don't have to show that much. You just give the idea of this desperate situation of people fighting against, against the odds, I suppose. So, the Halo Reach one for me, I think, is one of the best teasers.
There was another Halo advert that's quite famous, or trailer, sorry. The one where it's all miniatures.
The little
Which one
figures,
was that
yeah.
Was that 3 or 2?
That was Halo 3, yeah. Yeah,
that one,
quite
a lot of people
one.
really like that one, don't they? Yeah,
they do.
Really good.
Yeah.
I'll counter with a tease of my own.
Mm-hmm.
The Final Fantasy VII remake announcement trailer / tease from 2014, 2015, something like that, where you don't really, and it was live at E3, which I think really helped because it had the crowd's reaction over the top. And people were like, "I'm not really sure what this is," but it was showing various. It had sort of narration over the top, like just talking about how the world is dying and everyone's sad. People hate it in this city, but you've got to find a way to get through. And they're just showing various shots of Midgar, and they're showing more and more revealing stuff. So there's like a very iconic playground from Final Fantasy VII, and that would be easily recognizable. And as soon as that started showing up, you heard the crowd sort of go, "Oh, what is this?"
Yeah.
And the music wasn't Final Fantasy music. It was just sort of quite ominous, and this piano starts going do 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 do, and then the narration says, "And they're coming back." And the camera's panning down a corridor, and you can hear, like, on the speakers or in headphones, like, footsteps coming from behind the camera. And then they walk past, and what do you see? A man with a gun arm and a man with a giant sword on his back. And it doesn't show anything else, just those guys. And the whole crowd erupts, and then it says Final Fantasy VII, and it goes shing, and then it says remake, and everyone just loses their flipping mind.
Yeah,
and it's so good. I've watched that trailer every so often. It's amazing.
Yeah, there's something about a crowd reaction that it was the same with that Star Wars one. Just hearing people who care that much about Final Fantasy or whatever going crazy, that adds so much to it.
So good. I've got a couple of other short ones that I can do. The 2016 debut Last of Us Part 2 trailer, because a lot of us didn't think we were ever going to get another Last of Us. And Ellie's playing guitar in that room, with a bloody forehead.
Yeah.
And then Joel walks in and says, and as she's playing, it's showing him walking through the house that she's in, and there's just like dead bodies in each room that she's presumably killed.
Yeah.
And, it's our first time seeing grown-up Ellie. And he leans on the door and just says, "What are you doing, kiddo? Are you really going to go through with this?" And she just looks up at the camera and says, "I'm going to find and kill every last one of them." And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What turmoil is this game going to put us through? And that was extremely exciting.
It's
and I think
interesting.
There was a live crowd reaction for that too.
Yeah. It's interesting knowing how well that does actually tie in with the resultant game, because it was some time before, and I think everyone would have forgiven them if actually things had changed so dramatically to the story that was no longer quite relevant, or didn't quite fit with what ultimately happened. But even then, I think people were making guesses about perhaps the fate of Joel and what Ellie's goal might be in the game. And I remember way back when that trailer first came out, people guessing or hoping, predicting, I suppose, things that ultimately actually came true. So, yeah.
They stuck to their vision. You can't fault them for that.
Yeah.
The final one I have here is that gameplay demos, I think, especially from, they're pretty much just as prevalent, I would say, as trailers, especially when announcing a game. PlayStation does this a lot. And when I say gameplay demo, I don't mean playable at home. I mean, as in they will announce a game on stage, say, at E3, with like a live playthrough of a section of it. And the one I'm going to cite is the reveal for God of War, the 2016 one.
Oh, yeah.
Where nobody knew what it was. You see Atreus playing outside, and then he goes inside, and there's a very deep voice saying, get your bow, we're going to go hunting or whatever. But it's a new voice for Kratos anyway. And then he steps out of the shadows, and he's got a beard, and he looks really old. And again, the crowd reaction just loses their minds. And then the gameplay demo they showed was fantastic. And then at the very end, they had the live choir there singing the theme for God of War, and that was just God. It was really exciting. I think that's a very powerful way to show off and announce a game as well. So want to pay lip service to the God of War reveal.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of kind of going through gameplay demos as well in my memory banks, but I'm sure there's some other good ones out there. But yeah, that was definitely a significant one. I think as well, you're right that like no one could have predicted who was going to walk out of that building. You say not just because the voice had changed, but even the setting. I think it was fairly obvious from the very beginning that was, if it wasn't necessarily immediately clear that it was a sort of Nordic Viking kind of setting. Certainly it wasn't anything you would associate with Kratos. And then out he comes. There he is. And
they could have just ended it there. Just stepping out. It could have just said God of War. But then it immediately transitioned to gameplay. Obviously that whole game, famous for being just one uninterrupted shot from start to finish. And then, the crowd sort of lost their mind again, because it was like, oh God, we're actually going to see it being played. Here we go. It looks amazing. It's a third-person cinematic game. You would never expect that from Sony. They don't do those, ever.
Yeah.
Not every time. Every single time.
Yeah.
Every single game. Yeah, there we are. Nice fun trip down memory lane there.
That was good, yeah.
But let us know in the comments and on Twitter and on various other social media platforms. What are your favourite trailers? Let us know. Love to see them. Peter, where can people find us if they want to interact or watch some other stuff or listen to some other stuff?
At Team TripleJump everywhere that's worth being. We're at youtube.com and twitch.tv/Team TripleJump. That's where we do all of our videos and live streams. Remember, if you've got Amazon Prime, one of the benefits of that is a Twitch sub. So you can just redeem that on us. Won't cost you anything extra on top of your Amazon Prime. So why not do that if you're not using it for anything else? When we're streaming, we are modded by Lord Brotovich, Madstadactyl, and Trowling Badger. Our social medias are twitter.com and facebook.com/Team TripleJump. Luke Eldon looks after Facebook. Thank you, Luke. The Patreon is patreon.com/Team TripleJump. If you head over there, you'll be able to sign up to various tiers, one of which, or all of which, I should say, will allow you to ask questions on this podcast. We have a website. It's triplej.mup. That's triplejU.mp. If you go to triplej.mup/Discord, that'll send you straight to our Discord, which is modded by Jack, Joe, and Hollow Eyes. triplej.mup/podcast will give you the audio version of this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube right now, you can go and go over there and get the audio version. You can go to triplej.mup/VODs, which will redirect you to our VODs YouTube channel, where all of our VODs get uploaded. And finally, triplejumpshop.com is where our store is. You can follow at TripleJumpShop on Twitter as well for the latest updates. We're getting closer and closer to drop number 2. I know I say it every single week, but we have been talking quite extensively with our merch team about new pieces, new shirts, new other bits and bobs. So keep an eye out for that in, I don't know, the next month or so, perhaps. Hard to say exactly when, but it's coming. We promise you it is coming.
It is. It is. You can follow Peter on Instagram and Twitter at @ThatPeterAustin and myself just on Twitter at @confused_dude. We do lists every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, streams every Monday, Thursday, Friday. Thursday being the joint stream, Blaze It on YouTube. Monday and Friday being solo streams on Twitch. Worst Games Ever is fortnightly, Friday for patrons of a certain tier, Sunday for everyone else. The podcast is every Saturday and we do shows once every other week or thereabouts. Why not leave a review on iTunes or your platform of choice? It helps. Something to do with algorithms. This week, Peter, we have every Fallout vault ranked from worst to best. This is sort of a choice of would you rather be shot or stabbed, but we decided to rank them anyway.
Yeah, there's like 2 that are probably okay to live in, and all of the others are, choose your manner of death. Do you want to go mad before you die or not?
Do you want to be transformed against your will?
Exactly, yeah. Vault-Tec, they're great, aren't they? Let's save the world, save humanity, but everyone who survives the nuclear bombs will have a horrible time in another way.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Absolutely. It's a really fun one, though, so
it is.
Do go and watch that. I can already see the comments of people arguing about which horrible death is better than another horrible death, but this is probably one of the first lists we've done in a while that isn't actually a subjective one. It's just a case of, here are all the ways you can die in a Fallout vault. So, yeah, go give it a watch. Should be good. Also, we have a new What It Means to Me with Top Hat Gaming Man, who talks all about Street Fighter 2. So, big thank you to Top Hat Gaming Man for coming on.
Thank you.
I'm recording that. You can go watch that. Went out on Friday. The Fallout Vaults, I should say, goes out tomorrow at the time of release. It'll be going out on Sunday. You streamed with James this week. Any idea at the time of recording? Any idea what you're going to be playing?
Yeah, the plan at the moment, subject to change, is to do a kind of community-heavy couple of hours where we're going to do some Jackbox, probably Jackbox 1 to 4. We've got Jackbox 1 and 4, but for ages I've been intending to just get the whole lot anyway. So so we'll be doing some Jackbox with the fans. And also, we'd quite like to give AI Dungeon a go, which I've seen a fair bit of on YouTube. And James and I had a a couple of goes with it the other day when we were talking. So we'll probably have tried that too. And again, we can have chat input with that. Are you aware of AI Dungeon, Ben?
I've heard of it, but I can't remember what it's actually about.
It's so it's like a text-based game, where you say like search chest, use screwdriver on door, and it can sort of give you responses based on what you say. Mm-hmm. But it's a deep learning thing, so you can say and do anything you want, and it will come up with a procedurally generated story, and you can be super specific. Like I did a test one where it said you're on a spaceship, you're being attacked by the whoever the flips, the Zordjorions, and it said the walls are leaking a strange liquid, and immediately I said taste the liquid, and it made my throat swell up, and I went to like a medic to get my throat de-swollen, and there was like a cat there that I had to sweep off the table, and you can kind of do whatever you want, and it's like having a little sandbox to play in. But
nice.
We can get the chat to give their own ideas of what to do next.
Did we play this on a Podiats or like a Vidiot stream at some point?
I don't think so.
I seem to remember like being involved in a decision. I wasn't playing it. I don't know if Mikey was. Maybe I seem to remember being involved in like a decision-making process. I don't know. I have a very distinct memory of something very similar to that, but it might have been different.
Oh, I don't remember playing it on Podiats, but we should do actually. About it,
it would be really fun. Anyway, that's for another time.
It is.
Finally, Peter, we have done it. We have climbed the mountain, and as of this moment, your boys are officially recognized as speedrun record holders. We are the fastest in the world with our speedrun in The Sniper 2. We did it.
Yeah.
It's officially recognized by speedrun.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Feels
what
good.
Are you going to do about it, guys? You're going to come at us, come beat us?
Yeah.
I mean, you could very easily do that by just skipping the cutscenes.
Skipping the cutscenes would save you some time, yeah. I might actually create, because we're the moderators now for the game on the website, because we're the only people that play it. I might create a speedrun category where you can't skip anything. You have to enjoy the full experience.
Yeah. Maybe you
can only skip if you're replaying or retrying or whatever. But yeah, we encourage the community to quote unquote come at us. We didn't do this to hold the record forever. It would be quite fun actually to like just have a whole leaderboard of TripleJump viewers / listeners who are just trying to play this terrible game as fast as possible.
Because there is a slight part. I mean, most of it is just as long as you know who you're shooting, you're fine. But there is a part which does require some skill. The camera bit, remember that? Yeah.
Well, I mean, for some reason it was really fast for us, and I don't know if that's going to be the case for everyone who's playing it on an emulator. It was for you and for me in two isolated incidents. Or instances, sorry. But give it a go. Let us know. Finally, Peter, we just have enough time to talk about this week's sponsor, which is, of course, that Pokemon Flap. Rubbish. Ooh. Had it since the 90s. It's time for new Pokemon Flap. Get rid of it. Add the new one. You're welcome. Courtesy of Nintendo. And that's it. That's the podcast. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Hope you have a great weekend. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.